Chapter 1296, Unreasonable. 1. Everyone in the main hall was shocked by Mo Yunxian's sudden attack. When the three ambassadors from the Temple of Shadows entered the hall just now, Mo Yunxian had not yet arrived, so she did not know who they were. Enchanting glanced at the hostile-looking Mo Yunxian. She maintained her composure and simply smiled silently. However, she quietly glanced at Ling Yan from the corner of her eye. When the second princess saw what was happening, she could not help but look eager to watch the show. Mo Yunxian's father commanded the forces of the Eternal Dynasty and was an important person. Mo Yunxian herself was fairly talented, and together with her extreme beauty, she had grown rather arrogant. Mo Yunxian had admired Ling Yan since they were young and was very possessive of him. Besides the princesses who were related to Ling Yan, if Mo Yunxian saw any pretty girl draw closer to Ling Yan, she would find some way to get rid of the girl. Under ordinary circumstances, it would not matter. But today, the second princess' gaze fell on Enchanting, who was standing in front of Mo Yunxian. The second princess had also been startled by the sight of Enchanting. As a girl, she could not help but sigh over Enchanting's beauty. Now, Mo Yunxian was probably madly jealous to see such a beautiful woman standing in front of Ling Yan. Mo Yunxian was beautiful, but not as beautiful as Enchanting. Given Mo Yunxian's nature, she would never allow any girl more beautiful than her to live. However, today, Mo Yunxian had provoked the wrong person. Although the Temple of Shadows was on the decline, its fundamental strength remained. Further, the Temple of Shadows supported the eldest prince. Now, not only had Ling Yan become the crown prince, this Mo Yunxian had publicly reprimanded an elder from the Temple of Shadows. This would be interesting. The second princess was not alone. The eldest prince and princess also looked ready to watch a good show. If Ling Yan's fiancé offended an elder from the Temple of Shadows just after he was made crown prince, matters would certainly take an interesting turn. The eldest prince decided to stir the pot a bit more. He rose up and spoke. Mo Yunxian, these are my guests. Don't be rude. Mo Yunxian frowned slightly at the eldest prince. She knew about the fight to be crown prince, but she had always admired Ling Yan, so she was naturally wary of the other princes and princesses. In addition, upon her return, her father had told her that the eldest prince had recently allied himself with the eldest princess and locked Ling Yan into a dungeon. As a result, she was even more displeased with the eldest prince. Mo Yunxian laughed coldly and spoke. Even the guests of the eldest prince should have some manners. His Majesty has personally made elder brother Yan the crown prince, and he is the future emperor. Eldest prince, is it appropriate for your guests to show such contempt of our dynasty? The eldest prince secretly smiled. He knew Mo Yunxian's personality and hoped that she would make as big a fuss as possible. If she really made an enemy of the Temple of Shadows, it would destabilize Ling Yan's position as crown prince. Mo Yunxian, don't be unreasonable. I don't think my guest was rude at all. Mo Yunxian raised her head to look at Enchanting's utterly beautiful face. A cold, jealous look shone in her eyes. She's only a guest. Setting aside the matter of whether she is fit to toast the crown prince of our dynasty, she did not say a word when toasting him. Isn't that rude? Chapter 1297, Unreasonable. 2. Mo Yunxian did not care whether Enchanting had been rude or not. She only knew that she detested that face that was more exquisite than hers. She could not tolerate this seductive girl shamelessly toasting her elder brother Yan. Also, Mo Yunxian had never met Enchanting. When she saw that Enchanting's clothes were not very luxurious, she guessed that Enchanting was not very important. Furthermore, as the daughter of a great general, Mo Yunxian had never feared anyone in the entire Eternal Dynasty. When she heard that these were the eldest prince's guests, she did not have any reservations. The eldest prince frowned deeply. as if angered by Mo Yongxin's words. Enchanting looked on coolly. This Mo Yunxian was exactly the same as she had been in her previous life. In her previous life, Mo Yunxian had also been like that, simply finding any excuse to destroy her looks. However, things were different now. Before Enchanting could move, a black figure suddenly rushed forward. Mo Yunxian was about to say something else when she suddenly sensed an intense murderous aura rushing towards her. Mo Yunxian almost subconsciously tried to block the oncoming blow. But the force was unbelievably strong. She did not even have time to raise her hand before an immense force smashed into her shoulder. An agonizing pain instantly spread through Mo Yongxin's entire body. She fell to the ground, her carefully chosen outfit spattered with blood. Her shoulder blade had been smashed by the force. "Who are you? How dare you to talk to Ah Yao like that?" Minggu was suddenly standing in front of Enchanting, radiating a demonic aura. At that moment, Minggu was shrouded in a strong aura of death. The charming look had vanished from his exquisite little face, replaced by a viciousness that was akin to a killing god that had descended to earth. His liquid, black eyes seemed to be bottomless pits of death. Mo Yunxian had not expected someone to actually strike her at the Eternal Emperor's banquet. She had never been so seriously injured before. She stared at this demon-like child. "You dared to hit me. Disgusting smelly grub, why haven't you died yet?" Minggu frowned slightly as he looked at Mo Yunxian, who had actually withstood his blow. He suddenly lifted his small hand and prepared to kill this reckless smelly grub. Minggu's action completely shocked everyone. "Holy Sun Minggu, have mercy." The Eternal Emperor snapped out of his trance and spoke hurriedly. Minggu did not seem to hear him. To him, the Eternal Emperor was a nobody. The only person who was important to him was Enchanting. Just before Minggu struck, Enchanting suddenly reached out her hand and patted Minggu's shoulder. Minggu paused and turned. The vicious look on his face instantly transformed into a charming expression. "Ah Yao." Enchanting calmly shook her head at Minggu. "Holy Sun Minggu, today is the Eternal Emperor's banquet. It is not appropriate for us to dampen his spirits." Enchanting spoke with a faint smile. Minggu frowned slightly, but in the end, he withdrew his hand. Only his eyes swept coldly over Mo Yunxian. His gaze was so cold that it was almost freezing. "How dare you fight at His Majesty's banquet? You..." Mo Yunxian was in such pain that she had broken out in a cold sweat, but she had never been so humiliated in her life, so she continued to shout. Chapter 1298, Unreasonable, 3. Mo Yunxian, shut up. The Eternal Emperor looked stern as he shouted. When they saw that the Eternal Emperor was angry, all the ministers, princes, and princesses present instantly fell to their knees. "Your Majesty, please don't be angry." Mo Yunxian was shocked by this shout. The Eternal Emperor had always treated her affectionately. This was the first time she had been reprimanded like that. "Your Majesty, Mo Yunxian, I will make allowances for your youth and ignorance, so I will not punish you severely. Do you know who these guests are?" The Eternal Emperor said coldly. Mo Yunxian was taken aback. She glanced at Enchanting and Minggu. She had only noticed Lady Ghost and Enchanting's looks but had not observed them closely. Upon closer inspection, she vaguely noticed the color of Lady Ghost and Minggu's pupils, which was unique to the undead. The undead clan. Mo Yunxian instantly thought of that race. Mo Yunxian had seen many undead when she was cultivating with her master. However, those undead had been riddled with the aura of death and looked very peculiar, so they could be identified at a glance. However, her master had said that the more powerful the undead, the more they could hide their death aura and could even transform their looks to resemble ordinary humans. If a powerful undead so wished, they could transform themselves so that they looked exactly like a human. Mo Yunxian had not expected undead to be present and had not paid close attention. But now, these three are our honored guests from the Temple of Shadows. The person you insulted just now is Elder Yi from the Temple of Shadows. The Eternal Emperor spoke sternly. Mo Yunxian instantly blanched. An elder from the Temple of Shadows. When she thought of the force of Minggu's blow, Mo Yunxian broke out in a cold sweat. If her master had not given her a paragon-level Dharma treasure upon her return, she would have been killed by the blow. Even so, she had been severely injured. Perhaps Miss Mo has grown arrogant outside, and even the elder from the Temple of Shadows is beneath her now. Surely an elder of the Temple of Shadows is worthy to toast our crown prince. The second princess seized the opportunity to fan the flames. Now that Ling Yan had become the crown prince, he was an even greater threat than the eldest prince. It is my fault that our honored guests from the Temple of Shadows have been annoyed today. The eldest prince sighed and looked guilty. Miss Mo, our royal father is hosting today's banquet to entertain our guests from the Temple of Shadows, but you have been so rude to them. Perhaps you have no regard for our royal father's honor. Or perhaps now that our third royal brother has become the crown prince, you think you will be the future crown princess, so, the eldest princess chipped in, clearly intent on causing division. At that moment, Mo Yunxian's expression was extremely ugly. She had not known who they were, otherwise, she would not have acted as she did. Your Majesty, I did not. I did not mean it. The Eternal Emperor looked displeased, and he frowned as he looked at Mo Yunxian. Mo Yunxian, I will take into account your father's services in battle on the behalf of the Eternal Dynasty. Get out now, the Eternal Emperor said. Mo Yunxian panicked and looked at Ling Yan. Elder brother Yan, Ling Yan only listened to the Eternal Emperor's reprimand with a bowed head. Chapter 1299, Dangers Abound. 1. Shortly thereafter, the severely injured Mo Yunxian was invited to leave the main hall. The Eternal Emperor took a deep breath and said, "Everyone, arise." It was only then that everyone dared to resume their seats. Our guests from the Temple of Shadows have not enjoyed themselves because I have not arranged things properly, the Eternal Emperor said as he looked at Lady Ghost. Lady Ghost smiled without saying anything. The disturbance caused by Mo Yunxian had left everyone speechless. They lost interest in the banquet and left quickly. For many of them, it would be a sleepless night. At the residence of the eldest prince. I did not expect our royal father to make Ling Yan the crown prince. The eldest princess was sitting on a chair looking subdued. The eldest prince wrinkled his brow in deep thought. Ling Yan becoming the crown prince had been a surprise. He had assumed that the arrival of the ambassadors from the Temple of Shadows would improve his chances, but in the end, Ling Yan had become the crown prince. Today has been hard on Elder Yi. I hope Elder Yi will not take it to heart. It is my fault for being unprepared. The eldest prince did not mention the matter of Ling Yan being made crown prince but raised his head to look apologetically at Enchanting, who was sitting in the hall. At this, the eldest princess also snapped out of her trance. It was a fact that Ling Yan had been made crown prince. However, the crown prince was just a crown prince. They still had a chance before he became the emperor. In fact, the Temple of Shadows was now even more important to them. This Mo Yunxian is really spoiled. Does she really think her Mo family is the most important in the capital? Our royal father clearly showed his partiality to Ling Yan today. Mo Yunxian is Ling Yan's fiancée. If she were to be severely punished, Ling Yan would certainly be implicated. But our royal father did not show any clear intention of punishing her. Sigh, the eldest princess sighed while she observed the reaction of the group from the Temple of Shadows from the corner of her eye. Enchanting was not stupid. She could read between the lines of what the eldest prince and princess were saying. The Temple of Shadows was supporting the eldest prince. The eldest prince and princess were probably delighted that Ling Yan's fiancé had clashed with Enchanting. The more Ling Yan's side offended the Temple of Shadows, the greater the eldest prince's advantage. I thought that after our fourth royal brother passed away, there would be much delay in deciding on the next crown prince. I did not expect our royal father to make a decision so quickly, the eldest prince said with a frown. Lady Ghost looked at the gloomy eldest prince and princess and said, "The crown prince is only a crown prince, like the fourth prince was. The position of crown prince can be held by many. But only the last person to be crown prince will be the next emperor of the eternal dynasty. Am I right?" Lady Ghost's words moved the eldest prince, and his brow smoothed out. Guardian Lady Ghost is right. It doesn't matter who the crown prince is. What is most important is whether the person in the position of crown prince is fortunate enough to survive until he can ascend to the throne. I'm glad that the eldest prince understands that. I've heard that the third prince Ling Yan's martial ability is not very great. Even the late fourth prince was much more talented than him. However, even the fourth prince has passed away suddenly, so what chance does Ling Yan have? Lady Ghost's lips curved slightly as her eyes flickered. Why doesn't the eldest prince use his time to consider how Ling Yan can be induced to leave the position of crown prince? Thank you for your guidance. The eldest prince cupped his hands. Although nothing concrete had been said, everyone present was smart enough to understand what had been implied. Chapter 1300, Dangers Abound, 2. It's late. Please get some rest, the eldest prince said politely. Lady Ghost, Enchanting, and Minggu all returned to their rooms to rest. Enchanting had had a relaxing day. Anyway, she was supposed to be just an elder, so Lady Ghost had taken care of everything. "Ah Yao, can I come in?" Minggu had secretly crept outside Enchanting's room door, and now, he poked his head through the doorway and looked pitifully at Enchanting. Enchanting looked at the exquisite little face. She was hard-pressed to reconcile this innocent face with the murderous god of killing in the main hall. She nodded, and Minggu immediately flew to her side. "Ah Yao, that smelly grub was so insulting. Why didn't you let me kill her?" Minggu squatted next to Enchanting, his small hands on Enchanting's knee. He rested his small chin between his little hands, his large, black eyes filled with bewilderment. Enchanting chuckled but felt helpless. Although Mo Yunxian had insulted her, one blow from Minggu was as much as she could withstand. Also, she guessed that based on her character, the actual Holy Lord of Shadows would not have allowed Minggu to actually kill Mo Yunxian either. Someone like Mo Yunxian was probably beneath the Holy Lord of Shadows' notice. "Because today, I am only an elder from the Temple of Shadows and not the Holy Lord," Enchanting said with a smile. She could not help but reach out to pat Minggu's furry little head. Minggu frowned. He did not care whether she was an elder or the Holy Lord. "Ah Yao was Ah Yao." Enchanting saw that Minggu was not prepared to let it go. She was about to say something else when the faint aura of death suddenly spread through her room. Enchanting's heart thumped for a moment, but she maintained her composure and continued to rub Minggu's hair smilingly. The next moment, Lady Ghost's lazy voice rang out from within the room. "Holy Son Minggu, the Holy Lord made the right decision. We are here to help the Eternal Prince become the Crown Prince. If we started killing today, the Eternal Emperor would have been displeased." Lady Ghost slowly emerged from a dim corner and bowed to Enchanting. "Why do I need to care about what a smelly grub thinks?" Minggu frowned impatiently. "So what if he was the Eternal Emperor? If he was displeased, Minggu would kill him too." Lady Ghost was used to Minggu's nature. To Minggu, all humans were smelly grubs. They had no reason to exist. Even within the Temple of Shadows, the only two people that Minggu listened to were the Holy Lord of Shadows and Ming Wang. Other than that, Minggu did as he pleased. Lady Ghost knew that she could not convince Minggu, so she did not say anything more. Instead, she looked at Enchanting. Holy Lord, the Eternal Emperor's move today was earlier than anticipated. However, it should not be a major problem. Tonight, the eldest prince will certainly investigate everything related to Ling Yan. Barring all other accidents, the eldest prince will try his best to make Ling Yan vanish forever from the Eternal Emperor, just like the fourth prince. Lady Ghost was not interested in why the fourth prince had died. But she was certain that the fourth prince's death had been caused by the other princes and princesses. And Ling Yan was their next target. Emichim. Enchanting nodded calmly, keeping her expression casual. But in her heart, she was silently mourning for Ling Yan. Chapter 1301, Dangers Abound, 3. This was not a good time for Ling Yan to become the crown prince. Not only would the powers on the eldest prince's side try to kill him, but the second princess would also be scheming all night to get rid of him. Ling Yan faced not only his siblings but also the powers behind them. The sacred ground of reflection and the Temple of Shadows. However, Enchanting somehow felt that Ling Yan was not as easy to deal with as everyone thought. Ling Yan had the power of karma. Surely he could predict these things. When Enchanting thought about it, she realized she was being absurd. She could barely save herself. She certainly did not have the time and energy to worry about Ling Yan's safety. One should know that dangers had abounded at today's banquet. Logically, Lady Ghost should have done something when Mo Yunxian had insulted her. But from start to finish, Lady Ghost had not acted at all. Although this could be explained as Lady Ghost deliberately concealing Enchanting's status as the Holy Lord, Enchanting also knew that Lady Ghost's inaction served to further intensify the unhappiness between her and Mo Yunxian. So that Ling Yan could tell who she really was more quickly. Enchanting had not forgotten Ming Wang's plans. Lady Ghost spoke to Enchanting for a little longer before she left. Although he was reluctant, Enchanting also persuaded Minggu to return to his room. Enchanting only heaved a sigh of relief after they left. Ling Yan was currently in an unpleasant situation, but so was she. Ming Wang had placed Lady Ghost by her side as a watchdog. She needed to exercise extreme caution at every moment. She might inwardly be filled with grievances, but she still had to adopt the air of the Holy Lord. She had suffered enough. Enchanting just wanted to sleep, but the conversation between the eldest prince and Lady Ghost kept surfacing in her mind. She involuntarily took out the voice transmission stone. She hesitated for a moment, then activated it. Ling Yan. Emichim. Ling Yan's slightly indolent voice sounded from the voice transmission stone. What are you doing? Asked Enchanting. Waiting for you. Ling Yan's voice held the hint of a smile. Enchanting suddenly had the impulse to fling the voice transmission stone aside. But she quickly recovered and said seriously, "Don't talk rubbish. I haven't settled accounts with you for your fiancé's actions today. And how would Miss you like to settle them?" "I'll do whatever you wish," Ling Yan said with a laugh. Enchanting felt that if she continued to wrangle with him, she would end up digressing. So she stopped beating around the bush and spoke bluntly. "Since you have helped me so much, I will warn you out of the kindness of my heart that your eldest brother is going to expedite investigations into your circumstances. I guess that your eldest brother or older sisters will be doing their utmost to kill you. You'd better watch out." He still had the mood to tease her in these circumstances. The moment Enchanting finished speaking, Ling Yan's melodious laughter emerged from the voice transmission stone. His good mood was apparent just from his tone. "So Miss Yi is so concerned about me, she should not have contacted him. She should have just let him die. Their intention to kill me is not new. If they had that kind of ability, I would not have survived until today. Miss Yi does not need to worry, Ling Yan said gently. Who's worried? I'm just reminding you. Yi Qingtang muttered. Chapter 1302, A Conspiracy, 1, Just as you say, Miss Yi. Ling Yan said good-naturedly. Yi Qingtang felt that she was quickly running out of things to say. She should not worry about him. Before Ling Yan could continue, Yi Qingtang switched off the voice transmission stone. She inwardly despised herself for worrying over nothing. So far, she had not yet met anyone who could get the best of Ling Yan. When she thought of that, Yi Qingtang could not be bothered to pursue her train of thought any further. However, she was not sure what the Temple of Shadows would do in this fight to help the eldest prince be crown prince. If she made the slightest mistake, she might expose herself. Then, she need not worry about helping Ling Yan because they would both be dead. Yi Qingtang fell asleep midway through her thoughts. Shortly after Yi Qingtang got up the next morning, she understood why Ling Yan had been so calm yesterday. At that moment, the eldest prince was sitting despondently in the hall. Minggu and Lady Ghost, with Yi Qingtang in tow, walked into the hall together, only to see the eldest prince and princess sitting there gloomily. I didn't expect our royal father to place so much importance on our third royal brother. The eldest prince frowned deeply with an irritated expression on his face. Yi Qingtang did not know what had happened in the night, but she clearly sensed the eldest prince's annoyance. Guardian Lady Ghost, my eldest royal brother investigated Ling Yan's situation yesterday, and, the eldest princess said with a frown. She recounted the results of the eldest prince's investigations. Ling Yan's skills were average, and no one took any notice of them. He was most widely praised for his intelligence. The eldest prince wanted to target Ling Yan's poor skills and secretly sent men to kill Ling Yan. But the next morning, he received the news. After yesterday's banquet, the Eternal Emperor sent his personal elite group of powerful cultivators to Ling Yan's residence. He said that he was providing Ling Yan with more attendants, but in reality, each of these was more powerful than the next. He had clearly sent them to protect Ling Yan. Even the eldest prince's powerful cultivators were no match for the Eternal Emperor's men. Your royal father is not a stupid monarch. He did not say much about the fourth prince's death, but he knew what happened. Now that Ling Yan has been recently made crown prince, he will not allow another tragedy to happen. So he's prepared, Lady Ghost said as she rested a finger on her chin. It won't be easy to kill Ling Yan with these people around. Unless, the eldest prince's gaze involuntarily turned towards Lady Ghost. The Temple of Shadows was immensely powerful. The eldest prince and princess men might not be able to deal with the situation, but the Temple of Shadows certainly could. No. The eldest prince refused the eldest prince's suggestion outright before Lady Ghost could even speak. The powerful cultivators from the Temple of Shadows would be detected too easily if they were to act. Everyone from the Temple of Shadows was from the undead clan. Their moves could clearly be identified. The eldest princess frowned, but at that moment, a servant suddenly announced that the second princess, Ling Yu, was at the door. When they heard the news, the eldest prince and princess immediately knew what was going on. The second princess had probably reached the same conclusions as they did. The second princess was rapidly invited to enter. Yi Qingtang watched as Ling Yan's three siblings gathered. They were clearly conspiring to kill Ling Yan. Someone really induced hatred. Chapter 1303, A Conspiracy, 2, Did my royal brother and sister sleep well last night? The second princess sat primly. She had rather narrow eyes that were set in a cold face, and her eyes now swept over the eldest prince and princess. Of course we slept well. Although the eldest prince had already guessed the second prince's thoughts, he continued to maintain his posture of a kindly elder brother. Rather, it was the eldest princess whose eyes glittered with disdain when she looked at the second princess. The second princess laughed coldly and ignored the eldest prince's calm reply. Eldest royal brother must be in a good mood to be able to sleep so well. But I could not sleep at all last night. Oh. Is our second royal sister worried about something? The eldest prince pretended not to understand. The second princess grunted coldly and smoothed out a small wrinkle in her sleeve. Eldest royal brother, why bother with this pretense at stupidity? You probably didn't sleep a wink either. As she spoke, the second princess did not wait for the eldest prince to reply and said bluntly, I am not here for this. Our royal father made Ling Yan the crown prince yesterday. Eldest royal brother, that must have been unpleasant for you. After all, you had just invited the ambassadors from the Temple of Shadows, but the position of crown prince fell to someone else. Second royal sister, I don't understand what you are saying. It is our royal father's will for our third royal brother to be the crown prince. I have no complaints, the eldest prince said with a smile. The second princess detested the eldest prince's hypocrisy. Although he always acted like a gentleman, he was actually more like a beast. Eldest royal brother, I shall just be direct. Ling Yan, you, and I have fought for the position of crown prince for a long time. Eldest royal brother and sister previously worked together to imprison Ling Yan. Ling Yan will not easily overlook this wrong. If he really becomes the emperor one day, what kind of life would my eldest royal brother and sister have? The second prince's words caused the eldest prince's expression to change slightly. Today, I have personally come here to form an alliance with my eldest royal brother. We should set our quarrels aside. Our immediate problem is Ling Yan, who is currently the crown prince. He is our true enemy, the second princess continued. The eldest prince's expression grew more solemn, and the smile on his face vanished. He took a small breath, and the warmth in his eyes was replaced with a sharp look. Second royal sister, you are here at just the right time. I was just discussing the matter with the ambassadors from the Temple of Shadows. When the second princess saw that the eldest prince was finally speaking the truth, a trace of amusement appeared in her eyes. She looked over at Enchanting and the others, who were sitting nearby. I wonder if the ambassadors from the Temple of Shadows have any good suggestions? The second princess and the eldest prince had been enemies. But now, they had a common enemy, and so they secretly formed a temporary alliance. Lady Ghost laughed softly, but her gaze naturally fell on Enchanting, and everyone else in the hall also looked at her. Enchanting really had nothing to say. Lady Ghost was clearly testing her to see how she reacted. What sin had she committed? Enchanting secretly took a deep breath but continued to smile faintly. She slowly reached out and lifted her teacup from the table, then took a leisurely sip. The emperor makes the final decision on who will be the crown prince. If the emperor likes you, he can make you the crown prince. But if he doesn't, he can just as easily strip the crown prince of his title. Chapter 1304, A Conspiracy, 3, Elder Yi is right, but our third royal brother has always been intelligent and competent. He seldom does anything that displeases our royal father, otherwise, we would not be in this state, the eldest prince said with a soft sigh. No matter how competent he is unable to ensure that everyone around him is incorrupt, Enchanting said blandly. Enchanting's words gave everyone a jolt. Does Elder Yi mean, we should approach from the angle of the people that surround him? The second princess asked tentatively. Enchanting rested her cheek on her face. She cocked her head slightly and looked at them. Everyone has their selfish desires. If you really want the emperor to be displeased with Ling Yan, then find some problems that he or his subordinates face, enlarge them, and present them to the emperor. If you do this a few times, it might not be effective. But after many times, Enchanting did not complete her sentence. Everyone present was intelligent. They all knew what Enchanting was implying. If we really can't find anything, the second princess asked again. If you are determined to condemn someone, a charge can always be found, Enchanting said with a soft laugh. At that, the second princess and the eldest prince exchanged looks. Considering their power, it would be easy for them to trump up a charge. Thank you, Elder Yi, for your guidance. We will go and make preparations. The eldest prince cupped his fists in thanks. The second princess also understood. She said farewell and hurried off to make her preparations. Enchanting's emotions were in turmoil as she watched the three siblings hurry off to execute plans to harm Ling Yan. When everyone left, Lady Ghost rose and said to Enchanting, "The Holy Lord is truly wiser than everyone else." Just a suggestion of two, and they understood the crux of the matter. The eldest prince and the others had always been struggling to get rid of Ling Yan but had forgotten that the Eternal Emperor was crucial to Ling Yan's status. She did not wish to point it out either. Enchanting felt very depressed, but she needed to maintain her aloofness. Let's see if they manage to pull it off, Lady Ghost laughed softly. It is not important whether they can pull it off. As long as the Holy Lord is here, the eldest prince will certainly become the crown prince. Enchanting did not say anything. She only glanced calmly at Lady Ghost, then rose, and went back to her room. Truly, women are the evilest, the little white tiger muttered at Enchanting's back as it followed her back to her room. Those princes and princesses had been in a mess, but Enchanting had enlightened them. She truly had not pulled her punches in dealing with Ling Yan. Enchanting turned and glared at it. What was she supposed to do? There had clearly been an element of testing when Lady Ghost had thrown her the question. With the Holy Lord of Shadow's intelligence, surely she could not suggest some scheme that could easily be seen through. If Enchanting had made a perfunctory suggestion of what to do, then Lady Ghost would immediately become strongly suspicious of her identity. Then, she would certainly die, regardless of whether Ling Yan survived. Tell me, how do you think Ling Yan will react if he knew that you were doing your utmost to help others kill him? The little white tiger waved its tail as it gloated. Enchanting simply kicked its furry butt and took out the voice transmission stone. Chapter 1305, Giving Advice, 1, Ling Yan, I have something to tell you. Do you miss me, Miss Yi? Ling Yan's voice had a hint of amusement. If he were standing in front of Enchanting, she would kick him without a second word. Why can't he be serious? Don't be cheeky. I'm here today to inform you that your elder siblings have begun to fabricate charges against you. Of course, Enchanting would not really harm Ling Yan. She had been forced to act as she did just now. In any case, she could tell Ling Yan about what happened, so she did not need to feel too guilty. Considering their intelligence, they probably couldn't figure out such an essential point. Miss Yi must have given them some pointers, Ling Yan said with a laugh. Enchanting was silent. It's true that I advised them. However, didn't I inform you immediately? Soft laughter rang out from the voice transmission stone. Miss Yi, I don't blame you at all. In fact, I approve of what you've done. Right now, you are the Holy Lord of the Temple of Shadows, and the Temple of Shadows suspects you. Of course, you need to consider everything in the light of your status as the Holy Lord of Shadows. You must not give the game away. The Temple of Shadows is supporting my royal elder brother. It is natural that you plot against me, Ling Yan said with a laugh. There was no hint of blame in his voice. Enchanting had also thought so, which was why she acted as she did. But for some reason, when she heard Ling Yan being so considerate of her, a hint of guilt rose in her heart. Ling Yan had helped her a lot, but she was harming him. She really felt guilty. Miss Yi, you don't need to worry about this. In the future, you can do your best to advise my elder siblings. Otherwise, with their intelligence, things will be very boring. Ling Yan spoke suddenly as if he guessed Yi Qingtang's thoughts. Was he allowing her to do her best to help his siblings deal with him? Yi Qingtang was thoroughly shocked by Ling Yan's eccentric thinking. However, how disdainful was he of the brains of the eldest prince and the others? All right. In any case, I've informed you. Don't blame me if you make things difficult for yourself, Yi Qingtang said. She was about to switch off the voice transmission stone. But the moment before she switched it off, Ling Yan suddenly spoke. Miss Yi. What? Yi Qingtang pursed her lips. Have you noticed what? Yi Qingtang asked curiously. You are getting more and more concerned about my affairs. Ling Yan's laughter passed through the voice transmission stone and filled Yi Qingtang's ear. Yi Qingtang was slightly taken aback. Dream on. Who has time to bother with your affairs? Emisham. Of course, I am not as beautiful as Miss Yi. Yi Qingtang switched off the voice transmission stone. If she continued to quibble with him, she would really switch sides and help the eldest prince. She had never met anyone so shameless. The eldest prince and the others worked fast. Within half a day, they had gathered some clues, and by evening, the eldest prince, second princess, and eldest princess met at the residence for a discussion. They also invited Yi Qingtang and the others, who had advised them. Elder Yi, this is what we have gathered about the background of the people nearest to our third royal brother. As he spoke, the eldest prince placed a pile of dossiers in front of Yi Qingtang. This elder Yi was usually quiet, but today, she had enlightened them with a single remark, such that they saw the key to getting rid of Ling Yan. Chapter 1306, Giving Advice, 2. Yi Qingtang inwardly rolled her eyes when she saw the dossiers piled up in front of her. She was forced to do her best to kill Ling Yan. However, Lady Ghost and Minggu were standing behind her. Even if Yi Qingtang wanted to wash her hands of this matter, it would be impossible. Helpless, Yi Qingtang had no choice but to read through the dossiers and gain a vague understanding of the powers around Ling Yan. From the information in these dossiers, she gathered that Ling Yan was truly intelligent. Not only was he above reproach, but even his trusted followers were exacting and meticulous in their work. Disaster relief. Yi Qingtang saw a record in the dossiers that 2 years ago, one of the borders in the Eternal Dynasty had been stricken by a natural disaster. Ling Yan was ordered to bring money and resources to the area to conduct disaster relief. With that, Yi Qingtang immediately looked up and glanced at the eldest prince and the others. Immediately send men there tonight. What for? Second princess asked with a slight frown. The place that Yi Qingtang was pointing to was a city on the borders of the Eternal Dynasty, miles away from the capital. 2 years ago, there was a natural disaster there. Our royal father ordered third royal brother to go there to relieve the people in the stricken areas, but he's always conscientious and doesn't make any mistakes. Elder Yi, what is your intention? The eldest prince vaguely guessed at Yi Qingtang's intention but felt that something was amiss. Who knows whether he was conscientious or not? Yi Qingtang raised her brows slightly. The eldest prince was slightly taken aback. Does Elder Yi mean that we should send men to find some people to incriminate Ling Yan? Yi Qingtang nodded slightly. Then, she raised her hand and pointed out a few places on the map of the Eternal Dynasty. These places were all far-flung, but all of them had some connection to Ling Yan. Send men to all these places too. As long as you can get some people to change their testimony, nothing is impossible, Yi Qingtang said as she looked at them. With the eldest prince and the second prince's influence, it would be an easy matter to buy off some citizens. It would be even easier to get some officials in these cities to alter their testimony. All these were Ling Yan's past achievements. If properly used, they could also be the source of his defeat. When Enchanting finished speaking, she did not hesitate and pointed out a few names in the dossiers. Get some men to look for these people. The eldest prince looked and saw that the people Enchanting had pointed out were all trusted and long-time followers of Ling Yan. Also, they were all upright and respectable people. Elder Yi, what is your intention? Was Elder Yi planning to bring these unyielding persons over to their side? We have interacted with these people before and tried to get them to betray Ling Yan, but they were unwilling, and their characters. Enchanting was not interested in the eldest prince's meandering discourse. She simply waved her hand and interrupted him. I told you to look for them, not to solicit them. I want them to hit the men you send. What? The eldest prince felt completely out of his depth. Enchanting looked at the puzzled expressions of the eldest prince, and the others and felt that Ling Yan was right to disdain their intelligence. The eldest prince was not stupid but rather intelligent. It was just that, his intelligence paled before Ling Yan. But Lady Ghost understood Enchanting's meaning. She said with a smile, Eldest prince, you misunderstand Elder Yi's intentions. As you say, the men chosen by Elder Yi are all men of integrity. But men like that are especially easy to trap. Chapter 1307, Giving Advice, 3, Lady Ghost paused, then continued. If you can find suitable men to trap them into fighting, then you can turn the situation around and say that Ling Yan's subordinates took advantage of their position to bully others. This will also implicate Ling Yan. Ling Yan has only just been made crown prince, but his trusted subordinates have begun throwing their weight around and acting wickedly. If news of this reaches the emperor's ears, I'm afraid that the emperor will doubt Ling Yan's worth. Lady Ghost's speech allowed the eldest prince and the others to understand Enchanting's intentions. When they had first received these dossiers, they had fretted over fabricating charges against Ling Yan. Who would have expected that Elder Yi could checkmate Ling Yan with a few simple words? It did not matter whether Ling Yan or his subordinates had really done anything wrong. A single consultation with you is more profitable than 10 years of study. Elder Yi, I greatly admire your wisdom. The eldest prince made a slight obeisance to Enchanting with heartfelt admiration. But the second prince's expression grew odd. This Elder Yi's intelligence was truly formidable. At the moment, she was a great help in dealing with Ling Yan. However, once Ling Yan was removed, her alliance with the eldest prince would dissolve. Then, this formidable person would be her enemy. At that moment, the second princess' emotions were in turmoil. She was both glad and worried. As Enchanting looked at the admiration on the faces of the eldest prince and the others, she felt no inward joy. Ling Yan had allowed her to do her best to advise them. If he could not avoid the trap, then it really was not her fault. The eldest prince and the other two truly wanted to kill Ling Yan. The moment they understood Enchanting's plan, they began their preparations. They clearly wished to get rid of Ling Yan before he consolidated his power. They ordered men to ride swiftly through the night to the border cities. They also began to choose suitable men to deliberately provoke the loyal followers of Ling Yan that Enchanting had highlighted. Enchanting intended to tell Ling Yan about all these plans, but there was no sound from the voice transmission stone. She did not know if Ling Yan had left it in his room. Mou was Ling Yan's personal bodyguard and also Mo Yongshan's cousin. He was fairly talented and an upright man. Because he had grown up together with Mo Yunxian, the two of them were on good terms. Mo Yo doted on Mo Yunxian as if she were his own sister. Xiener, bear with it. Injuries like yours will not heal so soon, so you should stay at home. That day, Mou had heard that Mo Yunxian had been injured by the holy son of the Temple of Shadows during the banquet in the palace and had hurried over. However, the moment he arrived, Mo Yunxian begged him to bring her to see Ling Yan. "Cousin, did elder brother Yan really not give you a message for me?" Mo Yunxian had been severely injured by Minggu. If she had not been carrying her master's Dharma treasure, she would have died. Even so, Mo Yunxian's thoughts were with Ling Yan after resting for a few days. She had finally returned to the capital but had sustained such severe injuries. Ever since that night, elder brother Yan had not been to see her even once. Mou looked at his adored cousin, his emotions in turmoil. For the past few days, Ling Yan had not mentioned Mo Yunxian at all. But when he looked at the misery and hope written on Mo Yunxian's little face, Mou could not bear to tell her the truth. He was afraid that the truth would wound Mo Yunxian deeply. Chapter 1308, Deliberate Provocation, 1. Of course, the Crown Prince asked me to pass you a message. He knows that your injuries are serious, so he asked you to stay in your residence to recuperate. He will come and visit you when you are better. You must be aware that the Crown Prince just ascended to his position and has many matters to deal with. It's natural that he is too busy to visit you right now. Mo Yunxian beamed the moment she heard this. I knew it. Elder brother Yan would never stop loving me. Cousin, my injuries are much better. Can you bring me to the Crown Prince's residence? I haven't seen elder brother Yan for many days. Mou wanted to turn her down, but he could not harden his heart against the sight of Mo Yunxian's pale little face. All right, I'll bring you to see the Crown Prince. But you must behave yourself and not make a fuss. I heard all about what happened at the banquet. How could you be so rash as to offend an elder from the Temple of Shadows? If not for the Crown Prince's sake, His Majesty would not have let you off so easily. When Mo Yunxian heard that, Yi Qingtang's beautiful face involuntarily surfaced in her mind's eye, and her expression hardened. How was I to know she's an elder of the Temple of Shadows? Just that face alone would make one think she is some vixen from who knows where. Mo sighed softly. He knew that Mo Yunxian had an almost warped possessiveness of Ling Yan. She would not allow any pretty girl to appear around Ling Yan. Perhaps His Majesty did not punish you any further because the Crown Prince pleaded for you. You must be more careful in the future. A sweet smile surfaced on Mo Yunxian's face the moment she heard that Ling Yan had pleaded for her. Elder brother Yan really cares for me. Mou did not speak anymore and ordered men to prepare the sedan. When Mo Yunxian was seated in the sedan, he brought her to the Crown Prince's residence. Along the way, Mo Yunxian touched up her makeup in the sedan. Her one wish was to appear beautiful for Ling Yan. But before long, the sedan suddenly stopped. The shrill whinnying of a horse could be heard from outside the sedan, followed by someone wailing. What's going on? Mo Yunxian was anxious to see Ling Yan and impatiently stuck her head out. She suddenly saw a youth, who had fallen to the ground in front of them. Mo Yunxian was sitting astride his tall horse, frowning. Cousin, why have we stopped? Mo Yunxian asked crossly. Mo looked gloomy. He had been riding along when he suddenly saw a black figure dart out from the nearby crowd. The man had rushed straight into the path of his horse, and Mo had not been able to stop in time. His horse's hooves had crashed straight into the person. Go and see how he is, Mo said to a nearby guard. But before the guard could go forward to make his inquiries, the youth who had fallen to the ground suddenly vomited blood, and his body convulsed violently. Just as the guard reached the youth's side, the latter suddenly collapsed and stopped breathing. Lord Mo, the man is dead. The guard checked his breathing. Dead? Mo was slightly taken aback. He would never have imagined that this person would suddenly die. In the sedan, Mo Yongshin's only thought was to see Ling Yan as soon as possible, but now, she had run into such an unfortunate incident. So what if he's dead? Never mind if he wanted to die, why should he bring such bad luck on others? Hurry up and drag him to the side so that he doesn't block my way. Chapter 1309, Deliberate Provocation. 2. Mo Yunxian had been indulged from young and was born to a martial family. She was used to seeing dead people. Sienna, wait a moment. This incident must be, Mo, you wanted to say that it was just an inconvenience. But the sounds of wailing suddenly rang out. He saw two white-haired old people squeezing their way through the crowd to fling themselves on the dead youth's body. Fuer. What happened to you? Wake up. Don't scare your father, Fuer, my Fuer. These two old people burst into tears as they looked at their grandson, who had stopped breathing. Their voices were mournful and heartrending. It's all your fault. You killed my grandson. Give my grandson back to me. The weeping old woman looked with bloodshot eyes at Mo, who was astride his tall horse. She reached out to claw at him. Under the circumstances, Mo did not dare to retaliate. He had no choice but to dismount and try to calm the old people down. He himself was still in a daze. Even though the young man had suddenly rushed out, his horse had not been moving too fast, and the youth should not have died. Old lady, please listen to me. This matter, Mo reached out to support the old woman who had tottered forward to make a scene. But the moment his hand brushed against the old woman's arm, the old woman's eyes bulged slightly, and fresh blood spurted from her mouth, spraying Mo's face. There was a loud crash. The old lady toppled to the ground, dead. Mo stared in disbelief at the old woman, who had collapsed before his eyes. What is going on? Old lady, what's the matter? The old man who was left looked at his elderly wife lying in a pool of blood. Grief welled up within him as he lifted a shaking hand and pointed at Mo. You're so vicious. It's not enough that you killed my grandson, but you won't even let my old lady off. I'll kill you. Calm down, old man. Things are not what you imagine them to be. I didn't do anything just now. Mo was frightened by the situation. Two people had died before his eyes in an instant, and both deaths were related to him. He was completely befuddled. The citizens on the street could not help but stare as they saw all this unfold. Mo was a well-known figure in the capital, and many people knew who he was. At that moment, the crowd was abuzz. At that moment, Mo was really hard-pressed to defend himself. The old man raised his walking stick and rushed towards him. The walking stick was about to smash into him when a black leather whip suddenly snaked out from the sedan behind him. What's the fuss about? What do your grandson's and your wife's deaths have to do with my cousin? I think you're looking for trouble. Who are you that you dare to hit my cousin? Mo Yunxian wielded the leather whip with one hand to restrain the old man by his wrist. Her eyes were filled with impatience. Sienna, stop. Mo was shocked to see that Mo Yunxian had acted. Mo Yunxian frowned slightly, then impatiently flicked the whip aside. She had not used much force, but when she withdrew the whip, the old man was flung in the direction of a nearby stall. The stall was instantly smashed with a loud crash. The old man collapsed amongst the debris, spitting copious amounts of blood. His body quivered. Then, he died. 3 lives were gone in an instant. Chapter 1310, Deliberate Provocation. 3. Mo Yunxian could not help but be startled. Sienna, what are you doing? Mo was utterly shocked. He knew that Mo Yunxian was anxious to see Ling Yan and that she was rather heedless, but how could she kill someone publicly? Mo Yunxian looked at the leather whip in her hand before she snapped out of her trance. She had not really exerted any force just now, yet why had the old man died just like that? What does it have to do with me? I wasn't the one who killed him. I didn't use any force at all. Perhaps he is pretending to be dead. I just flicked the whip lightly. How could he have died? Mo Yunxian's face was filled with impatience. Combined with the fact that her injuries were beginning to ache and itch, she did not wish to linger here any longer. Also, she truly had not intended to kill the old man. She just wanted to scare him. Who knew why he had mysteriously died? The surrounding citizens were abuzz when they saw that 3 people had died before their eyes and that Mo Yunxian was acting arrogantly. These citizens held General Mo in high regard. He had achieved much glory on the battlefield, and to the citizens of the Eternal Dynasty, he was a great hero. But many of the Eternal Dynasty citizens secretly shook their heads at his only daughter. Although Mo Yunxian was seldom in the capital, her reputation for being coquettish and willful was widely known among the people. Now, many people felt that they had seen Mo Yunxian's true colors. 3 people had died just like that, and Mo Yunxian had personally killed one of them. So many eyes had witnessed it, but she made various excuses and continued to quibble. Mo vaguely sensed that something was amiss, but before he could recover his wits, a troop of soldiers suddenly emerged from the noisy crowd. What's going on here? The officer in the lead frowned as he looked at the 3 bodies lying on the ground. Mo was just about to reply, but Mo Yunxian's patience completely evaporated. You're just in time. I don't know where these 3 unruly citizens came from, but they ran in front of us to make trouble, and now they are playing dead to malign us. You must capture them quickly, Mo Yunxian said when she saw the soldiers. She might not know what else was going on, but she was completely clear about how much force she had used. That slight amount of force was not sufficient to kill. These 3 must be feigning dead to malign them. The soldiers naturally recognized Mo Yunxian as a noble young lady. Then, they saw that the other person was the Crown Prince's personal bodyguard, Mo. They were somewhat suspicious but still went forward to inspect the 3 bodies, reporting to my lord, the 3 people are really dead, a soldier said after a check. Mo Yunxian was stunned by these words. Did you check carefully? They must be using some sort of method to play dead. Mo Yunxian frowned. Although Mo's subordinate had said that the 3 people were dead, she had seen many ways of feigning death in her years cultivating abroad, so she continued to believe that the 3 were pretending to be dead. Miss Mo, the 3 of them are really dead, the officer in the lead said. Nonsense. Mo Yunxian did not believe him at all. She went forward to look at the old man lying in the debris. Her eyes narrowed. I don't believe you can continue with your act. As she spoke, Mo Yunxian raised her hand and used her whip to strike at the old man's body. Mo Yunxian's move startled the surrounding people. Even Mo had not expected Mo Yunxian to be so reckless. This time, Mo Yunxian used her full strength. Even if this person was pretending to be dead, the force of this blow would cause so much pain that he would be unable to maintain his act. Chapter 13:11 Everything is ready. 1. A crisp cracking noise pierced everyone's eardrums. The whip tore a bone-deep wound in the chest of the old man, who had collapsed on the ground. Their scalps crawled as they saw the flesh curl open. But he continued to lie there motionlessly, without any reaction. Mo Yunxian was completely stunned. What was going on? Sienna, stop that. Mo hurried over and grabbed the leather whip that Mo Yunxian was holding. Cousin, Mo Yunxian was momentarily flustered. Miss Mo, Lord Mo, we will have to trouble you to come back with us to deal with today's incident. The officer in the lead could not bear to go on watching. How could this Miss Mo be so cruel as to whip a person's body after he died? Why should I go with you? Mo Youngshin's expression immediately changed. She had not expected the old man to really be dead. The lead officer was unwilling to continue arguing. He just ordered his men to bring Mo Yunxian and Mo Yu along. Mo Yunxian wanted to resist, but Mo Yu told her to act more prudently. When he saw the group of soldiers take Mo Yunxian and Mo Yu away, the eldest prince, who was sitting in an elegant restaurant nearby, smiled. Elder Yi, based on your plan, Ling Yan still has a few other trusted subordinates besides Mo Yu and Mo Yunxian. We have also planned for them to commit crimes. Do you think our arrangements are all right? The eldest prince raised his eyes slightly and looked at Yi Qingtang, who was standing nearby. Everything that had happened today was arranged by him, in accordance with Yi Qingtang's instructions. Yi Qingtang maintained her slight, casual smile, as she saw the disappearing figures of Mo Yu and Mo Yunxian, who were being taken away. The bait was not bad. Yi Qingtang's gaze fell on the three people, lying dead on the ground. She sighed inwardly but did not allow her expression to change. She knew very well why Mo Yunxian had reacted like that. After all, in her place, she also would not believe that someone would suddenly give up their life to frame her. So Mo Youngshin's thinking was correct. It was just that. The eldest prince's arrangements had evidently taken everything into account. The eldest prince smiled and said, "Since we want to bring Ling Yan down, our plan must be flawless. My third royal brother is so intelligent. If I found someone to feign dead, he would quickly find a plot hole. And if it's just an argument or a fight, it will be hard to blow the matter up. The only way is to cause my third royal brother's loyal subordinates to publicly kill ordinary citizens to incur the wrath of the capital citizens. Only then will my royal father give weight to this matter." The eldest prince watched the three bodies being carried away as he spoke. His expression showed no sign of pity. These grandparents and their grandson were border refugees. They've been in the capital for half a year. If not for my kindness, they would have died long ago. Since I have need of them today, they naturally tried to do their best for me. The eldest prince spoke casually. Yi Qingtang's face remained expressionless, but she laughed coldly in her heart. She believed in the eldest prince's viciousness, but not in his kindness. The eldest prince must have some hold over this trio, and they were forced to give up their lives here. Yi Qingtang had heard of the viciousness of the Eternal Dynasty's eldest prince in her previous life. Now that she had met him, she realized he was even crueler than he was rumored to be. The tasks that Elder Yi handed to us are almost complete. We only need to wait for the men from the border to reach the capital before embarking on our plan, the eldest prince said with a smile. If we can bring Ling Yan down this time, it will really be thanks to Elder Yi's advice. Chapter 13:12 Everything is ready. 2. Yi Qingtang swept a bland look at the eldest prince but did not say anything. Ling Yan, you better be careful. The recent ascension of the Eternal Dynasty's crown prince should have been a joyous occasion, but many calls for impeachment now arose in the Eternal Dynasty's court. According to the Eternal Dynasty's custom, a morning court session was held every day, and all the princes and princesses had to attend, even those who had not been crowned. The Eternal Emperor was presiding over the court when a minister suddenly stepped forward and kneeled to present a memorial. Your Majesty, I have a memorial to present. What is it? Asked the Eternal Emperor. Your Majesty, I wish to impeach the Crown Prince, Ling Yan, for allowing his subordinates to wreak havoc among the citizens, the minister said loudly. The Eternal Emperor had just made Ling Yan the Crown Prince, but within a few days, someone dared to call for an impeachment. Many ministers in the court were shocked. Everyone's eyes involuntarily turned to Ling Yan, who was standing at one side of the Great Hall. Ling Yan did not seem to hear that someone was calling for his impeachment. He only remained in his spot, with a remote expression on his face. His eyelids did not even flicker. The eldest prince, who was standing opposite Ling Yan, secretly exchanged glances with the second princess, who was behind the latter. When his gaze passed over Ling Yan, a trace of amusement flashed across his eyes. With that, he subtly nodded at a scrawny man, who was dressed as a civil servant and standing at the side of the great hall. This civil servant was originally one of the eldest prince's trusted subordinates, but today, he had been replaced. Today, Enchanting was standing there, looking like an ordinary person. Early that morning, the eldest prince and the second princess had prepared everything and were ready to make their move in the morning court session. In order to ensure that everything went smoothly, the eldest princess had especially requested Enchanting to disguise herself as a civil servant and sneak into the morning court session. Enchanting looked at the eldest prince's expression and sighed inwardly. What was meant to be would always be. She subconsciously lifted her gaze and glanced at Ling Yan's back. Her emotions were rather tangled. The Eternal Emperor's expression stiffened. You want to impeach the Crown Prince? Yes. What has the Crown Prince done wrong that you wish to impeach him? The Eternal Emperor frowned slightly, and a hint of his displeasure showed. The minister steeled himself and said, the Crown Prince Ling Yan has conducted himself poorly, allowing his subordinates to deceive the Emperor. His wrongs are innumerable. How dare you? The Eternal Emperor suddenly smacked the throne heavily. Do you know what the penalty is for maligning the Crown Prince? The minister kowtowed deeply and said solemnly, I know that the penalty for maligning the Crown Prince is death. But as a minister, I cannot ignore his crimes. Today, I make the risky move of impeaching the Crown Prince for the sake of the safety and security of my eternal dynasty. Your Majesty, please hear me out. After that, I will gladly accept any consequences that your Majesty metes out. The Eternal Emperor narrowed his eyes slightly and took a deep breath. He looked deeply displeased. The eldest prince, who was standing nearby, saw this, and a hint of amusement arose in his heart. But his expression was worried when he advanced and said, Father, the Crown Prince has always been honest and kind. He could not possibly have done anything treasonous. With that, the eldest prince turned to the minister who was kneeling on the floor. Lord Hu, is there some misunderstanding on your part? There is no misunderstanding on my part, Lord Hu said with a straight face. At that moment, the second princess said, Lord Hu has always been upright and principled. He is both honest and fair. He must have discovered something for him to risk his life today to ask for an impeachment. I also do not believe that the Crown Prince is corrupt, but since Lord Hu has spoken up, Royal Father, why don't you allow Lord Hu to explain himself so that the Crown Prince can clear his name? Chapter 13:13, Everything is ready. 3. The eldest prince and the second princess worked together seamlessly so that although they seemed to be speaking up for Ling Yan, they hinted that the Eternal Emperor should finish listening to Lord Hu. The Eternal Emperor's expression grew sterner. He finally spoke in front of the full court of civil and military officials. If you dare to malign the Crown Prince today, I will make sure you are quartered. The Eternal Emperor's eyes were sharp. His words clearly showed that he was protecting Ling Yan. I hear and obey, Lord Hu replied. Then, he continued. I wish to impeach the Crown Prince on 2 major counts. Firstly, the Crown Prince condoned his subordinates when they broke the law and committed crimes in the capital. They have harmed people and caused good and loyal citizens to suffer. As he spoke, Lord Hu presented the memorial he had prepared earlier to the Eternal Emperor. The Eternal Emperor glanced at it, and his expression suddenly grew stern. The Crown Prince's adherents, Mou, Wu Liang, Chang Kai, and others have abused their position in the capital and killed the citizens of our dynasty, Lord Hu carefully read out the numerous crimes on the memorial to the entire court of civil and military officials. Everyone knew that all those mentioned by Lord Hu were Ling Yan's trusted subordinates. All the crimes were clearly detailed, and many of them were committed after Ling Yan had become the crown prince. Many of the officials in the capital had heard of these incidents in the past few days. All the officials were instantly abuzz. Ling Yan's reputation within the court was fairly good, and many ministers thought well of him. Ling Yan had always performed his duties flawlessly in the past and gave the ministers no occasion to be displeased with him. However, after Ling Yan became the crown prince, many of his trusted subordinates had caused trouble, and most of these incidents had cost lives. The Eternal Emperor's expression grew stern. The memorial was presented together with a record from the Board of Punishments, which clearly recorded the details of the crimes that Ling Yan's subordinates had committed. "Where is the Minister of Punishments?" the Eternal Emperor asked coldly. The Minister of Punishments immediately advanced. "Here I am." The Eternal Emperor asked coldly, "Where are Wu Liang and the others?" The Minister of Punishments grew pale and fell to his knees. "Your Majesty, Wu Liang and the others have already left the Board of Punishments." "How dare you? Who ordered you to release them?" the Eternal Emperor shouted. He flung the record straight at the minister's face. "I deserve to die, I deserve to die. I had them locked up, but General Mo's daughter, Mo Yunxian, said they were all the Crown Prince's people and asked me to release them." The Minister of Punishments was ashen. In reality, Wu Liang and the others were Ling Yan's trusted bodyguards and were close to Mou. Because of that, they extended their friendship to Mou's loved ones and were somewhat familiar with Mo Yunxian. Also, Mo Yunxian was now Ling Yan's fiancée. Wu Liang and the others naturally treated her as the future crown princess and were very respectful towards her. When Mo Yunxian and Mou were locked up in the Board of Punishments, they saw Wu Liang and the others. Mo Yunxian was a pampered young lady and could not stand a place like the Board of Punishments. She naturally used her position as the future crown princess and her status as General Mo's daughter to order the Board of Punishments to release them all. It was actually a small matter, and to Mo Yunxian, those who died were unimportant as they were only ordinary citizens. The Board of Punishments naturally did not dare to make things too difficult for her. After all, they knew that the Eternal Emperor favored the Crown Prince, Ling Yan, and Mo Yunxian's father was also one of the Eternal Emperor's trusted subordinates and wielded much military power. Thus, they had no choice but to let them go. Chapter 13-14 Impeachment. One such incidents were actually of no great importance, but no one expected Lord Hu to present it as a memorial to His Majesty during a court session. Now there was no way to resolve the matter. Enchanting was standing on the sidelines, and her lips twitched involuntarily as she watched the scene unfold. What kind of fiancé had the Eternal Emperor selected for Ling Yan? What she had done? Based on the plan, locking Mo Yunxian and the others up in the Board of Punishments would show that Ling Yan was guilty of mismanaging his subordinates. He would, at most, be accused of indulging his subordinates and allowing them to behave willfully. But Mo Yunxian had meddled and gotten them released. Now, it was even better. Now, Ling Yan would probably be accused of corruption, contempt of imperial authority, abuse of power, and colluding with his adherents. As the Crown Prince's fiancée, she was so proud that she dared to throw her weight around in the Board of Punishments and meddle with their affairs. Enchanting felt that Mo Yunxian had really brought misfortune to Ling Yan. She did not love him. She clearly was against him. For a moment, Enchanting silently mourned for Ling Yan in her heart. Sure enough, the Eternal Emperor's expression immediately darkened. In the end, the Crown Prince was only the Crown Prince. If he overstepped his boundaries, he would be seeking his own death. No monarch would allow his own children to interfere with the workings of the government. Send men to immediately bring them before me. The Eternal Emperor said coldly. With that, a troop of guards left the palace to arrest Mou and the others. What else do you have to report? The Eternal Emperor looked at Lord Hu again. Lord Hu continued. I also want to impeach the Crown Prince on grounds of falsifying his achievements, deceiving the throne, and appropriating the disaster relief funds. Lord Hu threw another bomb. As he spoke, Lord Hu presented another memorial. When Enchanting saw him hand over the memorial, she knew what it contained. She did not need to read it to know that the memorial involved Ling Yan's past disaster relief work at the border. However, the achievements of the past had now been rewritten as an appropriation of funds, indifference to the citizens affected by the natural disaster, and falsifying information to fabricate achievements in order to deceive the emperor. Why did she know all this so well? Because she had dictated it to the eldest prince, word for word. One might say that Enchanting had written that memorial. Enchanting could not help but feel guilty. She secretly glanced at Ling Yan, only to see that he did not appear to have heard anything. He was still standing calmly in the court as if he was not the one being impeached. Was he relaxed? Or prepared? One must know that Enchanting had dealt 2 vicious blows. If Ling Yan had no way to counter them, he might lose his position as a prince, not to mention his position as crown prince. Sure enough, Enchanting's colorful memorial hit the Eternal Emperor in a vital spot. His expression grew extremely grim. Lord Hu was unsparing in his efforts. He recited the contents of the memorial in front of everyone. The court was abuzz. One must know that a few years ago, Ling Yan had won much praise from the ministers for his disaster relief work at the borders. If all this was merely for show, then the praise would instantly be transformed, and amplified, into abhorrence. Lord Hu, is there any misunderstanding? The Crown Prince does not seem like an avaricious person. The eldest prince made a show of disbelief. Chapter 13-15 Impeachment 2 But Lord Hu said, of course, would not dare to make casual speculations involving the Crown Prince. When I received the news, I specially sent men to the various regions to investigate. The investigations showed no discrepancies. I also ordered men to bring some of the officials and citizens from these border cities here. If His Majesty does not believe me, he can summon here for questioning. The Eternal Emperor immediately summoned them to the hall for a confrontation. The officials all came from far-flung border cities and had never seen the Emperor before. Upon meeting him, they were filled with fear and trembling and fell to their knees in unison. The citizens quivered even more violently and kneeled behind them. Greetings, Your Majesty. Look up. Let me ask you, how did the Crown Prince, Ling Yan, do when he was in your cities to perform disaster relief? The Eternal Emperor asked sternly. There is no need to hesitate when answering His Majesty. You just need to speak plainly. If you dare to deviate from the truth, you will immediately be dragged out and flogged to death. The second princess said coldly. All of them immediately became so frightened that they shivered all over and stammered. When the third prince was at our borders, he did his very best and did not do anything inappropriate. Yes, yes, yes. The Crown Prince attended to everything personally and loved his subjects as he would his own children. When the officials from the various cities spoke, they strenuously praised Ling Yan's efforts. The Eternal Emperor calmed down a little, but at that moment, the citizens kneeling behind the city officials suddenly turned pale. They raised their heads and said, Your Majesty, please give us justice. This sudden turn of events startled the ministers, who were beginning to suspect there was some mistake in Lord Hu's investigations. The Eternal Emperor frowned slightly. Your Majesty, when we were at the border, we did not see the Crown Prince at all. The Crown Prince never came to our cities. Also, we never received any disaster relief. Your Majesty, my son and daughter starved to death during the natural disaster. We heard that the court had sent the third prince to perform disaster relief, but we never saw any food, only some moldy rice. Your Majesty, our lives are worthless. We must say that the Crown Prince has deceived you and everyone else. These citizens publicly exposed the city officials' flagrant cover-up. They shouted themselves hoarse to denounce Ling Yan's lies. This immediately set the court buzzing. When the eldest prince saw the situation unfold before him, a trace of amusement surfaced in his eyes. He discreetly glanced at Enchanting from the corner of his eyes. He had intended for both the officials and citizens to discredit Ling Yan's achievements, but before they left, Enchanting suddenly changed her mind and asked him to change the city officials' statements completely. The eldest prince had been rather worried about whether this was appropriate. But now that he personally saw the effect, the eldest prince was filled with admiration for Enchanting's intelligence. If everyone accused Ling Yan of doing a poor job in disaster relief, others might suspect that Ling Yan was being framed. But now, the city officials' cover-up made it obvious that Ling Yan had secretly bribed them. This made the impoverished citizens' testimony even more believable and further blackened Ling Yan's character. After all, no one would expect ordinary citizens to deliberately malign the Crown Prince for no reason. This was really a stroke of genius. When the citizens finished speaking, the city officials' expressions stiffened. They shuddered even more violently. Their reactions clearly indicated their guilt without a need for more questioning. At a glance, it was clear who was telling the truth and who was lying. Chapter 13-16 Impeachment 3. The Eternal Emperor's expression was now very unpleasant. He immediately commanded men to take the city officials away and interrogate them under torture. In a short while, the city officials who could not withstand the torture confessed that they had taken bribes from Ling Yan, which was why they had helped Ling Yan maintain his false front. The Eternal Emperor was enraged the moment this emerged. Ling Yan! Is this your doing? The Eternal Emperor shouted coldly. He looked at Ling Yan in anger and frustration. But Ling Yan faced the enraged emperor with complete composure. Royal Father. The Crown Prince was still young when he went to perform disaster relief. Perhaps he has made mistakes, but Royal Father, please take into account his youth and ignorance at that time and forgive him this once. The eldest prince suddenly advanced and kneeled before the Eternal Emperor to plead loudly on Ling Yan's behalf. Enchanting secretly smirked when she saw the eldest prince's act of brotherly affection. This eldest prince was pretty smart. On the surface, he was pleading on behalf of Ling Yan, but in reality, he was affirming that Ling Yan was guilty of appropriating the disaster relief funds and deceiving the emperor. This was a great show. One act followed another, each aimed at Ling Yan's life. Enchanting was engrossed in the show when she suddenly noticed that Ling Yan, who was standing in front of her, seemed to accidentally glance at her. Perhaps it was her guilty conscience, but she felt that Ling Yan had discovered that she was present. Surely that was not. Enchanting subconsciously felt the rough skin of her disguise and fingered her wispy beard to reassure herself. But before the Eternal Emperor could speak again, the guards who had left the palace to arrest the others returned. They brought with them Wu Liang, and the others who had left the Board of Punishments. They had even brought Yunxian, who had yet to recover from her injuries. Let me go. Yunxian was a little hurt by their grip and frowned unhappily. Yu and the others were brought into the Great Hall. They sensed that something was amiss when the Eternal Emperor's personal bodyguards had arrived at their doorstep to arrest them. Now, they became exceedingly alarmed by the strange atmosphere in the court. Yu wanted to urge Yunxian to speak carefully, but he was being guarded and had no chance to speak. Everyone kneeled in the hall. Yunxian's expression was very ugly. Many of her injuries had worsened after she left the Board of Punishments, and she had remained in her residence for many days to recuperate. As a result, she had not been able to see Ling Yan. Now, she looked pleased to suddenly see Ling Yan in the hall. She did not know what was going on, but she subconsciously turned to Ling Yan and spoke. Elder brother Yan. Ling Yan's gaze did not move at all. It was as if he had not heard or seen Mo Yunxian. Enchanting could not help but secretly shake her head at this spoiled Miss Mo Yunxian must have been spoiled rotten by General Mo. Now that she was in court, she showed no respect for the emperor, calling Ling Yan's name instead. Perhaps Ming's blow had made her stupid. When Enchanting saw that everyone was gathered in the hall, she involuntarily glanced at Ling Yan. He was the one who had permitted her to advise the eldest prince. Now, he would have to rely on himself to extricate himself from this difficulty. Perhaps Enchanting's gaze lingered for too long. Ling Yan calmly turned his head, and his gaze passed over Mou and the others, who were kneeling in the great hall. But when his gaze passed over Enchanting, it seemed to linger for a moment. His expression seemed to hold a discreet smile. Enchanting was speechless. Chapter 13-17 Plead Guilty. 1. The Eternal Emperor looked grimly at Mo Yunxian and the others kneeling before him. Greetings, Emperor. Mou and the others sensed the atmosphere and hurriedly kowtowed. Mo Yunxian saw that Ling Yan did not seem to notice her, but Mou signaled to her secretly, and she obediently bowed to the emperor. You are really daring to leave the Board of Punishments on your own accord, without my permission. The Eternal Emperor's tone was filled with displeasure. Mou and the others immediately broke into a cold sweat. When he and Mo Yunxian were imprisoned in the Board of Punishments, they had discovered that Wu Liang and the others were also jailed there. They had mostly been arrested within the past couple of days for crimes they had committed. Before Mou could ask them for details, Mo Yunxian used her status and brought them out of the Board of Punishments in a daze. Wu Liang and the others were rather worried at first, but they felt that the incidents were rather strange and wanted to come out early to investigate, so they had left. But after a few days outside, they had yet to discover a single clue. Your Majesty, please have mercy. We know we were in the wrong. When the Eternal Emperor summoned them to the morning court session, they all knew something was terribly wrong. Mo Yunxian, who gave you the authority to leave and bring criminals with you? The Eternal Emperor's gaze suddenly fell on Mo Yunxian. Although Mo Yunxian was the daughter of a general, she did not have such authority. Mo Yunxian turned pale, but she steeled herself and said, Your Majesty, I had my reasons for leaving. What reasons? The incident that happened that day was very strange. I felt that something was amiss, so I left the Board of Punishments to investigate. Mo Yunxian did not feel that there was anything wrong with her way of thinking. She thought it was very strange that those three people had suddenly appeared and then died. So what did you find out? The Eternal Emperor asked as his expression changed. Mo Yunxian opened her mouth, then pouted, and shook her head. The Eternal Emperor laughed coldly. Mo Yunxian, you behaved rudely and recklessly at the banquet, but I forgave you for the sake of your father. Yet you have remained recalcitrant. Do you really think you can get away with such lawless behavior? You are not needed to investigate such matters. Do you think that everyone in the Board of Punishments is dead? The Eternal Emperor bellowed as he showed his rage. Mo Yunxian and the others were terrified. The Eternal Emperor could not be bothered with Mo Yunxian and the others. He turned to look at Ling Yan. Ling Yan, you have heard everything said today. What explanation can you give? At that moment, everyone's gaze focused on Ling Yan. Today, he had been charged with 2 major crimes. If he was guilty, he would probably lose his position as part of the royal family, not to mention his status as crown prince. The eldest prince was in a good mood. He was waiting to see Ling Yan fall from power. Although the matter of appropriating disaster relief funds was not watertight because of time constraints and Ling Yan might be able to find a loophole, the trouble that Ling Yan's trusted subordinates had stirred up would be impossible to resolve. The eldest prince and second princess had put in a lot of effort into trapping Mou and the others. Even if the Eternal Emperor was suspicious and investigated the status of the deceased, he would not be able to find anything amiss. Also, Mo Yunxian had been a great help when she had taken it upon herself to bring everyone out of the Board of Punishments. Just that incident alone would shake Ling Yan's position as Crown Prince, which was still unstable. Chapter 13-18 Plead Guilty. 2. The eldest prince and Enchanting secretly exchanged glances and waited to see how Ling Yan would redeem himself. Enchanting was aware that of the two charges, the one of indulging one's subordinates had been planned more rigorously. The disaster relief matter was just the icing on the cake. She just did not know how Ling Yan would deal with it. Enchanting's gaze involuntarily fell on Ling Yan. Ling Yan maintained his composure although everyone was looking at him. He only raised his eyes slightly to look at the Eternal Emperor. Just as everyone was staring at Ling Yan to see how he would refute the charges, he suddenly spoke. Lord who has asked to impeach me on the grounds of two charges. I plead guilty to them both. Ling Yan's words shocked everyone present. What's going on? Ling Yan is pleading guilty just like that? The eldest princess whispered to the eldest prince behind her, her eyes wide in disbelief. Ling Yan did not say a word to refute Lord Hu's two charges but simply admitted that he was guilty. No one present had expected this, much less the eldest princess. Enchanting was also shocked by Ling Yan's words. He is just pleading guilty. You should at least resist a little. A look of shock flashed across the Eternal Emperor's eyes as he looked at Ling Yan, who had pleaded guilty. Ling Yan, are you really pleading guilty? The Eternal Emperor asked somewhat uncertainly. Yes, I am pleading guilty. Ling Yan repeated himself as if afraid that the others had not heard him. Now, the Eternal Emperor really turned ashen. He had been planning to rebuke Ling Yan. If he refuted the charges, the Emperor would naturally get someone to investigate everything carefully. He certainly would not believe Lord Hu's accusations so easily. However, the person being charged did not have any intention of resisting. The Eternal Emperor had just formulated a series of follow-up actions, but now, they were rendered useless. Even Lord Hu, who had come forward to accuse Ling Yan, was shocked. Had the almost demonically clever third prince been substituted for someone else? As everyone was exclaiming in surprise, Ling Yan suddenly took a few dossiers from his sleeve and handed them to the Eternal Emperor. Then, he flicked his robes and kneeled on one knee. Royal Father, every word that Lord Hu said is the truth. However, Lord Hu's investigations were too superficial. These dossiers clearly record all the funds that were misappropriated in the disaster relief work that I was involved in over the past few years. Ling Yan's words shocked everyone present. Did anyone trip themselves up like that? The Eternal Emperor scowled and flipped through the dossiers. The dossiers clearly recorded every sum that had gone missing, and it was significantly greater than that in Lord Hu's accounts. But as he read further, the Eternal Emperor's expression grew even more shocked. The eldest prince, who was standing nearby, also snapped out of his trance. Although he did not know what was wrong with Ling Yan today, he certainly would not miss this golden opportunity. He would take advantage of Ling Yan's weakness to score a vital hit. The eldest prince advanced. Royal Father, the Crown Prince is young, and perhaps he made a mistake. Please, Royal Father, forgive him. The second princess immediately understood and said, Forgive him. My eldest royal brother is so compassionate. The Crown Prince has appropriated the funds meant to save the lives of our citizens at the border. Do you know that every cent he embezzled represents the life of a citizen, stricken by the disaster? Who knows how many citizens have been killed by his greed? How can such a greedy person be our dynasty's crown prince? How can we face our citizens? Chapter 13:19 Plead Guilty. 3. The eldest prince was just about to open his mouth and continue his duet with the second princess when Ling Yan suddenly spoke. My second royal sister is right. Appropriating the disaster relief funds is unforgivable. I have let my royal father and the people down. The second princess had already formulated a rebuke, but now that Ling Yan had reproached himself, she choked back her words in shock. Her icy facade seemed to crack. What was going on? Was Ling Yan intending to die today? Ling Yan had snatched the words right out of the eldest prince's and second prince's mouths. For a moment, they did not know what to do. They could only turn and look at the Eternal Emperor, who was frowning. Ling Yan had admitted his guilt. Their royal father would at least strip him of his position as crown prince. After the Eternal Emperor finished flipping through all the dossiers, he suddenly took a deep breath. I did not realize I had such wicked people around me. The Eternal Emperor looked extremely grim as his gaze swept across everyone in the court. The eldest prince and second princess were delighted to hear the Eternal Emperor's words. Where is Jiang Shu? The Eternal Emperor barked. The commander of the imperial bodyguards, Jiang Shu, immediately advanced. Here I am. Go, the Eternal Emperor took a deep breath. And bring General Mo's lieutenant generals, Meng Yi, and the others, here. Everyone was stunned by the Eternal Emperor's words. What was going on? Wasn't he interrogating Ling Yan? Why had the Eternal Emperor suddenly ordered the capture of General Mo's lieutenant generals? Everyone was puzzled, but no one dared to ask questions in the presence of the Eternal Emperor, so they had to suppress their curiosity. After a while, Jiang Shu brought Meng Yi and the other lieutenant generals to the hall. Before everyone in the hall could recover their wits, the Eternal Emperor threw the dossiers that Ling Yan had presented earlier at Meng Yi and the others. How dare you? I asked you to accompany the Crown Prince to perform disaster relief, but you dared to appropriate the disaster relief funds. The Eternal Emperor barked coldly as he looked at them. Meng Yi and the others were shocked to see what was recorded in the dossiers before them. Have mercy, Your Majesty. Have mercy. At that moment, the eldest prince and the others saw what was written in those dossiers. The eldest prince and the others were shocked by what they saw. The dossiers clearly recorded the details of the disaster relief funds that had been embezzled. Every sum was clearly recorded, but the final sum had not gone to Ling Yan. It had gone to these people, who had been brought to the hall. Everyone was shocked. They did not understand what was going on. When Ling Yan saw that the men had been captured, he said, Royal Father, when you sent me to the border to perform disaster relief, Meng Yi and the others were sent to accompany me. Along the way, I fell ill and was unable to continue. I had no choice but to order Meng Yi and the others to bring the funds there first. However, they were corrupt and appropriated most of the funds. By the time I found out about it, they had appropriated the funds. The border citizens were in a desperate plight. Since I was there as my royal father's representative, I did not dare to delay the work. Thus, I sold my own property to make up the sum. As Ling Yan spoke, he nodded to an old minister present in the court. The old minister immediately advanced and kneeled before the Eternal Emperor. Chapter 13:20 Justice Before Family. 1. This old minister used to be the Eternal Emperor's trusted subordinate. He was upright, honest, and absolutely loyal. The Eternal Emperor trusted him implicitly. The Crown Prince is speaking the truth. Because of the losses caused by the natural disaster, the situation at the border was desperate. The Crown Prince sought my help as I was situated near the border, and he asked me to raise funds for him. He later pawned his jewels to repay me. The old minister's words took everyone by surprise. This old minister was staunchly upright and would never curry favor from those in power. In the past, he had even dared to point out the Eternal Emperor's mistakes. Hence, the Eternal Emperor trusted him greatly. The eldest prince and second princess had tried to get him over to their side but were always shown the door. One might say that all the important ministers in the court trusted the old minister's word. As he spoke, the old minister produced the loan receipts that he and Ling Yan had signed that year and presented them to the Eternal Emperor. The documents had been imbued with a spell that showed when they were signed. There was no way to tamper with them. The Eternal Emperor looked through them one by one and noticed that the time stated in the spell coincided with the disaster a few years ago. The evidence was irrefutable. No one had expected Ling Yan to be prepared with this. That year, there had been nothing unusual about Ling Yan's disaster relief work. The people that the eldest prince had found and the evidence of embezzlement were all falsified. They had not realized that the embezzlement had really taken place. Except that the embezzler was not Ling Yan but Meng Yi and the others. In fact, Ling Yan had pawned his own belongings in order to make up the sum. Many of the ministers in the court had been unhappy over Ling Yan appropriating the disaster relief funds. When they heard this, they now turned their approving looks on Ling Yan. We never knew that the Crown Prince had done so much for our country and our people. We admire him deeply. The Eternal Emperor looked at Ling Yan with a much friendlier gaze. His eyes were filled with concern. "Yener, why didn't you say something when this happened?" Ling Yan replied. That year, the Central Dynasty was about to make trouble. General Mo had led troops to guard the border. I was afraid that revealing the matter then would affect the line of defense at the border. The Eternal Emperor looked pleased. The eldest prince and second princess were bewildered. They had plotted against Ling Yan, but now, they had not only failed unexpectedly, but Ling Yan had used their accusation to consolidate his position. He had even used his own money to make up the disaster relief funds and had remained quiet about it for many years without seeking any praise. In fact, no one would have known about it, if they had not given Ling Yan a good opportunity today. The eldest prince and second princess exchanged glances. Their expressions were a little anxious. Bring them away and interrogate them under torture. The Eternal Emperor's expression changed from kindly to chilly as he turned from Ling Yan to look at Meng Yi and the others. They were quickly brought away. Mo Yunxian, who was standing nearby, was stunned. Meng Yi and the others were her father's trusted subordinates. Mo Yunxian had been completely ignorant about the matter of the disaster relief funds. The eldest prince could not help but panic when he saw that Ling Yan had countered his move. But when he saw Mo Yunxian and the others kneeling in the hall, he thought of another plan. So he went forward and said, "The Crown Prince has worked hard for the people but is too soft-hearted. This might not be a good thing. Such matters should have been reported to our royal father in the first instance. You should not have hidden the matter on account of your engagement with Mo Yunxian. Meng Yi and the others are General Mo's trusted subordinates. General Mo must be behind the embezzlement." Chapter 13:21 Justice before Family 2. When the eldest prince saw that the disaster relief trap had failed, he used the statuses of Meng Yi and the others to accuse General Mo. After all, everyone knew about Ling Yan and Mo Yunxian's engagement. When the second princess heard this, she also recovered her wits and said with a smile, "Did the Crown Prince not expose Meng Yi and the others because of his concerns about the Central Dynasty, or because they are General Mo's trusted subordinates? No one can say for sure. After all, General Mo is one of the Crown Prince's staunchest supporters. The Crown Prince only spoke up after the disaster relief matter was exposed. I wonder if he did so to protect himself. Enchanting sighed softly as she heard the siblings work together seamlessly. These two were not utterly stupid, they knew how to capitalize on the relationship between Ling Yan and the Mo family. But she was rather curious as to what Ling Yan would say this time. What my second royal sister says makes sense. For some time now, General Mo has grown arrogant with his achievements. Even his daughter, Mo Yunxian, dared to make a scene in the Board of Punishments. She has no regard for heaven or the throne. I suppose General Mo also has his ambitions. Since the Crown Prince discovered this earlier, why didn't he speak up? The eldest princess also chipped in. When Mo Yunxian saw her father being maligned, she said, "Don't you malign my father and elder brother Yan. My father has always been loyal and has never disobeyed His Majesty. What Meng Yi and the others did has nothing to do with my father. Elder brother Yan, speak. Hasn't my father always acted appropriately towards His Majesty?" Mo Yunxian asked Ling Yan urgently. Ling Yan did not look at Mo Yunxian but looked directly at the Eternal Emperor and said, "Royal Father, I am guilty." The Eternal Emperor frowned slightly. He did not know why Ling Yan said he was guilty. Ling Yan continued. "I discovered General Mo's disloyalty long ago, but I did not speak because I had yet to gather sufficient evidence. Fortunately, I gathered sufficient evidence a few days ago, and I will now show it to my royal father." As he spoke, Ling Yan took a few memorials from his space ring and presented them to the Eternal Emperor. These memorials clearly recorded all the crimes that General Mo had committed. "I am engaged to the Mo family, but I have never forgotten my own position," Ling Yan said. The entire court exploded into whispers. For the past few years, General Mo's behavior had become increasingly out of hand as his achievements on the battlefield grew. Many of the officials in the court were unhappy with this, but they did not dare to speak out because of the engagement between the Mo family and Ling Yan and because of General Mo's influence. Everyone knew about the engagement between the Mo family and Ling Yan. One might say that the Mo family was Ling Yan's greatest source of support. No one expected Ling Yan to have the courage to put justice before family and accuse the Mo family himself. Mo Yunxian's eyes widened as she stared at Ling Yan in disbelief. She would never have dreamed that Ling Yan would accuse her family. "Elder brother Yan, what are you doing?" Mo Yunxian panicked. Mo and the others, who were nearby, also looked incredulous. They were Ling Yan's trusted subordinates but had not known that Ling Yan was investigating the Mo family. When Enchanting saw Ling Yan's act of putting justice before family, she almost wanted to applaud him. Enchanting now understood why Ling Yan was not concerned about the trap that the eldest prince and second princess had set for him. Chapter 13:22 Justice Before Family 3 Even 10 eldest princes were no match for Ling Yan. Ling Yan was probably all prepared and had clearly expected everything that happened today. It must be admitted that Enchanting wanted to laugh when she saw Mo Yunxian's crushed look. No one had expected Ling Yan to accuse General Mo. Even Mo and the others were implicated because they were close to Mo Yunxian. Wu Liang and the others were Ling Yan's trusted subordinates, but because of their connection with Mo and the Mo family, they were close to the Mo family, and now, they were unable to extricate themselves. Also, Mo Yunxian had led them away after they had committed the crimes. From start to finish, Ling Yan had not involved himself in the matter. This deepened the impression that they had transferred their loyalties to the Mo family and that the trouble they had caused had nothing to do with Ling Yan. Instead, it cast the spotlight on Mo Yunxian's presumptuousness and the Mo family's arrogance in its achievements. Imprison Mo Yunxian and the others. The Eternal Emperor took a deep breath and resolutely issued the command. He also sent men with troops to arrest General Mo, who had just returned to the capital. Elder Brother Yan. Elder Brother Yan, Mo Yunxian frantically sought Ling Yan's help before she was dragged away, her beautiful little face filled with terror. But Ling Yan had not even glanced at her throughout this incident. Mo Yunxian had not imagined that Ling Yan would treat her so viciously. When Mo Yunxian and the others had been taken away and imprisoned, Ling Yan said, "Royal Father, I am guilty. Although I did not participate in the Mo family's matters, Mo Yunxian and I are engaged." Before Ling Yan could finish speaking, the Eternal Emperor waved his arm. "This engagement is my fault. I made the engagement for you years ago but did not expect the Mo family to harbor such wicked ambitions. I have picked the right person. You have taken on everything by yourself and have given priority to national matters without showing any bias. You have done very well in this matter. Your engagement with Mo Yunxian is dissolved. In the future, the two of you have no connection whatsoever. You need not worry about this." The Eternal Emperor looked pleased. Ling Yan had managed this matter flawlessly. He was even more pleased that Ling Yan had chosen justice over family for the sake of the nation. This is the kind of boldness and courage a crown prince of our eternal dynasty should display. The Eternal Emperor was full of praise, unaware that the eldest prince's and second prince's expressions had darkened. Their careful plans had been completely overturned by Ling Yan. Unexpectedly, not only had they failed to trap Ling Yan, but their actions caused Ling Yan to appear even more virtuous in the eyes of the Eternal Emperor and the ministers. Ling Yan's status as the crown prince had been shaky, but after this incident, the entire court and the Eternal Emperor would recognize Ling Yan's status as the crown prince. The three of them finally had a taste of what it meant to try to gain an advantage and end up worse off. "You must be tired. Go back and rest," the Eternal Emperor said with a smile. Today, the more he looked at Ling Yan, the more delighted he grew. Ling Yan smiled and rose. "Then I will take my leave." As he spoke, Ling Yan turned to leave. When he walked past Yi Qingtang, his footsteps seemed to pause. Yi Qingtang pretended not to notice. She hid behind her whiskers and pretended to be entirely absorbed elsewhere. Ling Yan's lips curved in a faint smile. A moment later, he strode away. Ling Yan had won a complete victory in today's battle. Chapter 1323 had a lot of fun. After Ling Yan left, all the ministers praised Ling Yan profusely and expressed their approval of him. Ling Yan's reputation in the court instantly grew. The eldest prince's, second princess, and the eldest prince's expressions were utterly ugly. The border officials and disaster victims they had brought aroused the minister's suspicions instead, and they were taken away for questioning. After all, the receipts that Ling Yan had signed were present, causing their version of events to be viewed suspiciously. When they saw this, the eldest prince's and second prince's hearts thumped wildly. Fortunately, they had neither made a personal appearance nor revealed their identity when contacting these people. Even if these people revealed who had instructed them, it could not be traced back to the eldest prince and second princess. After the court dismissed, the eldest prince and the others returned to his residence. The three siblings had ugly expressions, completely unlike their expressions when they had left the residence earlier. "We were defeated by Ling Yan today." The second princess sat down, her face filled with frustration. "I did not expect what we did today would help Ling Yan instead. He not only resolved all the accusations, but he even seized the opportunity to gain everyone's approval. We have really made a huge loss today." The eldest prince's face was ashen. He had been confident of victory, but to their surprise, they had lost the entire round. Ling Yan's move had been so excellent that they were unable to guard against it. Ling Yan even accused the Mo family as well. That was really unexpected. Doesn't he know that the Mo family is his greatest source of support? The eldest prince's brows were deeply furrowed. She was perplexed by Ling Yan's accusation of the Mo family. One must know that the Mo family had always supported Ling Yan. Although the Mo family could not compare to the sacred ground of reflection or the Temple of Shadows, it held the military power in the Eternal Dynasty. It wielded great influence in the imperial court, and that was one of the reasons they had not been able to get at Ling Yan so far. But today, Ling Yan had actually accused the Mo family without batting an eye. After today, the Mo family would soon fall from power. This could not be good news for Ling Yan. Our move was lacking, the eldest prince sighed, then lifted his eyes, and glanced at Enchanting. Elder Yi, we were not properly prepared today and wasted your scheme. They thought that Enchanting's plan was sure to work, but they had miscalculated Ling Yan's movements and wasted the opportunity. It doesn't matter. Enchanting spoke casually, but she could not help but inwardly roll her eyes. Not properly prepared. What she saw today gave her an inkling of how this would play out. With the eldest prince and the others' little talent, the outcome would probably be the same even if they prepared for decades. They were no match for Ling Yan. When Lady Ghost, who was standing nearby, heard what had happened, amusement lurked around the corners of her mouth. Her gaze seemed to accidentally fall on Enchanting. After today, Ling Yan's foundation will be even more stable. It won't be easy for us to touch him. The eldest prince's face was gloomy. But the eldest princess said, in that case, can we drag Ling Yan into the Mo family's trouble? The eldest prince had a thought and involuntarily glanced at Enchanting, as he thought of asking her for help. Why was he looking at her? Enchanting was speechless, but with Lady Ghost at her side, she had no choice but to say, no. Why? The eldest princess could not understand. Enchanting really wanted to tell the eldest princess it was because they were too stupid, but could only say, Ling Yan personally and publicly accused the Mo family. You're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.